exercise book, or you can make some lined paper or things on this now. Okay, it is now 20 past, so I'm going to get cracking, get started on this. So thank you very much, really, to help you with your structure of how to answer your Jekyll and Hyde question. Okay, that you get a choice of two, one of which is likely to be a question on character, and one of which is likely to be a question on theme, and you can choose either or. And what I'm going to tell you is a structure about how to really tackle it if it's a character question, but also a lot of this will help. The first thing that I think you need to write down, and I think you need to make sense of, is that you should be writing a minimum of 3 paragraphs. And what the structure of this should be as follows. You need to write about, like, in the establishment of the novella, as in the start of the story, what that character story, and then what that theme or character is like in the conclusion. Because all of the key in the middle and the end of the novella, and what you need to write about, 1 paragraph on each of these things, become quotations from the novella. You've learned about how the character changes over the course of the story. In today's lesson, in the chat for me now, just give you 30 seconds, the 4 main characters that we could talk about in Jekyll and Hyde. Maybe put them in the order for that. Once you've done that, we're going to draw out this table and we're going to look through specific quotations for me on that Hyde that we should be focusing on. Daniel, thank you very much. Great start with that. Well done. For the establishment for each character, 1 for the development and 1 for the conclusion. Make sure you leave enough space for each. Great, Sean, well done. Thank you, Sunny. So what I'm seeing from this, absolutely right. There are 4 key characters, and we're going to talk about each of them in turn. The 4 key characters we're going to look at: Utterson and Lanyon. These are the 4 key characters. Now, you're very lucky because the year before, one of the questions, the character question, was actually on the minor characters. So it was actually on Danvers, Carew, and Poole. If you get a character question, it's likely to be one of these 4. And what we're going to be thinking about is if the question is, how does Stevenson present the character Jekyll? How can we structure our answer to make sure that we have a whole argument and how we would go through that? So can you make sure, please, you have a table written down which has establishment, what happens in the development, and what happens in the conclusion. What I've put up here, just above here, is I've put key quotations for the establishment, key quotations for the development, and key quotations for the conclusion. So part of what we need to do is match up which goes to which character. I'm going to do the first one for you, because what is really important for you to have, is for you to have an understanding of what the plot point is for the character at the start, a key quotation, we're moving higher, why that is important. Not necessarily saying why the analysis is important, but what is Stevenson as an author trying? And then we're going to think about Hyde, and you're going to try and put that idea together. So the establishment of Jekyll. When we first meet Jekyll as a character, what we can say as follows. Remember, Jekyll is not introduced until chapter 3 of the novella, so it's quite late surrounding his character. Only introduced in chapter 3 when Utterson asks him about his relationship with Jekyll. So I would make sure you get something like that down, because we need a plot point. It's really important about Dr. Jekyll's character that he is not one, although he is the eponymous character, the first person that we hear because his name is in the title, ultimately, we don't meet him until chapter 3. Welcome to those who just joined. Just make sure that you're getting down a table that looks a little bit like this. We've got a quotation. It could be, unscientific balderdash, never lighted by a smile. There came a blackness about his eyes. Please, in the chat function, which of those 4 quotations is showing us Jekyll? Which of them? One of them is Lanyon. Which one of these 4 in this part here represents, or please? Because I would say this is a key quotation for looking at how Jekyll is established. The quotation is, there came a blackness about his eyes. These quotations, these are the ones in the establishment. These are the ones for the development. Is about the establishment. Now, in this first example, Jekyll, when Utterson asked him about his relationship with Jekyll, when he asked, about Hyde, I apologize. When he talks about there being a blackness about his eyes. Now, what we need to think about with that is the blackness is associated with evil and with the devil. And crucially, what we are establishing straight away in Jekyll's character is a strong, so we've got the plot point, a quotation, and we need to say why. Stephen's a secretive character who shows a sense of duality. So in a paragraph, your first paragraph you would write about Jekyll, you need to make sure you're using the word establishes because you're saying what he's like at the start. And we are saying that he has a duality, that there's two sides to him. That's immediately established. This would be your second sentence, and then this would be your third sentence in your paragraph. After that, you would then go, blackness symbolizes the sense of being a devil, and therefore he is showing a sense of being evil right from. Just so we're really clear on that, that is your first sentence for your paragraph. This would be your second, that would be your third one, and that's how you would introduce things all together. So remember, for your essay, just so we have 3 paragraphs, because you're going to talk about him in the establishment, him in the development, a quotation to analyze, what happens to him in the middle, what happens to him at the end. Okay? So I'm now going to move on. In fact, I'm going to get clear structure in place, and then we'll think about how we could do that all together for the other characters. Sorry. At that point, at the start, Utterson asks him about his relationship with Hyde, and he's very increasingly secretive. Jekyll becomes increasingly secretive about his relationship with Hyde, and shows. So you could say, as the story develops, Utterson continues to question Jekyll about what's going on. Jekyll says, I could be rid of what happened, but that's the important thing for that. And a quotation, it's one of these 4 quotations. Quotation for this one we would talk about, that's one for Hyde. This is the quotation for Lanyon. This is for Jekyll. Because remember, in chapter 7, Jekyll is at the window. Jekyll is at Enfield who are on a walk. They see him and they say, come on down, Jekyll. I want to, why don't you chat with us? And he says, go and speak with them. He instantly thrusts the window down. And this is the really crucial thing, because at this point, what are we starting to see? The fact that he instantly thrusts the window down. If you thrust something, you're pushing it with lots of violence. Jekyll losing control of himself, losing control of Hyde, unable to repress his emotions. At this point, we could say Stevenson develops the character of Jekyll to become, and as a result, more depressed. So for your second paragraph, about the establishing idea, first of all, now we're talking about the development of his character, and as a result, he's more depressed. So as we can see, that's what he's like at the start, opening sentence, because what you're showing is how he's changed over the course of the novella. This is second sentence, especially at the window. This would be your second sentence. And this, after that, in your paragraph, you would absolutely need to make sure that you then analyze the violent verb thrust, shows that he's been taken over almost by Hyde. If I'm going to things in the chat, I'm happy to go over things more than once. If you want to, please can you just put a thumbs up if things are making sense. I'm just talking into nothing. So just let me know if things are making sense and if this is helping you. Happy to go over things more than once if needs. About our final paragraph for Jekyll. So just to repeat, your first paragraph is what he's like at the start of the story in the establishment. And your third paragraph is what he's like in the conclusion. Now remember, the end of the story is Jekyll's about life, about being secretive as well. So what happens? The truth about his experiments, what he feels about why we exist. His existential, he writes this in the form of a letter. Because remember, the last chapter revealing of the case. So almost as if we've had the mystery and this is now coming true that way. But ultimately, there are a couple of other quotations we could put for this. The really crucial is when he says, man is not truly one, but truly two. Man is not truly one, but truly two. And you've got the repetition here, really emphasizing his fundamental belief, that man is not one, but man is two, that there is a strong sense of duality in his character. Crucially, what is he trying to do? Stevenson exposes the beliefs, I could say, the strong beliefs in duality through Jekyll's closing. And I would say exposes his strong beliefs in duality, because ultimately what Jekyll is doing of Stevenson. So you could argue a great word to be able to use for that is mouthpiece. So you could say So you could say Stevenson exposes his strong beliefs in duality through Jekyll's chosen with Jekyll acting as his mouthpiece. To get down here. Do ask any questions in the chat if you have them. If not, you might be making notes on this. Guilty as he changes and could show dishonesty. I would say he feels guilty partly, but it's not necessarily guilty for the bad things managed to separate the two out. So I think the crucial thing he's saying is that duality is a problem, but everyone. So crucially, through the character of Jekyll, he's exposing the strong sense of duality that there is in the character, something that is a good thing. He also describes this duality as a shipwreck. So that's a lovely metaphor also to potentially write down, that Jekyll shipwreck, almost looking at that kind of metaphor of it causing him suffering and causing him death. So just so we're really clear on this, if you have got a question on Jekyll, or if you've got the characters like in the establishment, one on what the characters like in the development, and one on what the characters like in the conclusion, use the word established and say what they are like. You then need to say when this happens and what's going on, that quotation. Those are the 3 steps you need to do. So that's my first paragraph. And I've done the same in the second. And I'm saying he becomes more secretive and more depressed. When it is, I'm going to add is and the analysis. And then the final one, in the conclusion part of it, what is Stevenson exposing? When does it happen? And give me a quotation to show those ideas. So you've got those 3 paragraphs. If we're aiming for a pass, if we're aiming for a grade 4 and 5, those are the basic things you need to do. If you follow this structure perfectly, what you're looking for is you analyzing your quotations, but making sure you're linking your points together. So this is one paragraph. Now do an example, taking all of this detail, and we're going to write this up together as a paragraph. Send the character of blank in the novella. So in this case, we're going to talk about Jekyll. And this is what establishment Jekyll is presented as. And we can look back at is presented as a secretive character who shows a sense of duality. That is my opening sentence. That is a lovely opening sentence because I'm taking it from the start and I'm linking it to a key theme. This is seen when, and I'm going to take this quotation, we want to say when it happens. This is seen when he is only introduced in chapter with Hyde. You've given me the point there, but I need to make sure we have the quotation. And I'm going to put this. This is seen when he is only introduced in chapter 3 when Utterson asks him about his relationship with Hyde. And there came a blackness about his eyes. So I've got my quote. I'm saying the chapter ideally, but I'm talking about it and I've got my quotation. And this about his eyes, I'm going to talk about a key word in that quotation to analyze. The word blackness suggests that Jekyll is all color black in literature, in traditionally Gothic literature, is already slightly evil as the color black is associated with the supernatural and evil, but as it appears only in his eyes. You've said where it comes and the quotation, and then I'm picking out the technique, the idea for that is. If you can, you might want to reinforce it with, I haven't given you ones there, but that's how you would put it in. You might say this is reinforced by the quotation from the establishing part of the novella. And then you want to finish your paragraph the time. So in Victorian times, gentlemen were meant to be reputation. A really crucial thing. Virtually for any character, you could talk in Victorian times. Gentlemen were meant to be open and have a strong reputation. By being secretive, Jekyll is, which would shock the reader. And there you are, sorted. So just so we're really clear, you've got your point, and in your point, you must conclusion. You've then got your quotation, but where it's come from. And then I've linked it to what it was like in Victorian times. Therefore, I'm going to leave up this, and I want you to have a go at completing for me. What can we say about the character Hyde in the establishment? Have a look at the quotation. Give me a plot point. Give me the quotation. And what is Stevenson is? Same for the development. Plot point, quotation, and then for the conclusion. Plot point, quotation. I will try and put these quotations up here so you can choose which. Bear with me just a second. I will. I've seen there are things in the chat. I will come to those shortly. Table doing the Hyde ones that you've got there. Sonny, you're exactly right. Well done. Thank you. Put it in your table. We've got about 50 filling in the table for Hyde. So you've got these ideas. If you have any questions about what we're doing or any of this, to answer any questions you have about this as well. I will, after this session, I'll upload this document. So you've got the example here with Jekyll, and that you can do the same for Hyde, Utterson, Lanyon. If you want to bring that to me in school for me to look at, just to check. If there are any questions, now is the time to be able to ask them, because at the moment I'm just presuming that way. If you're not sure about something, if you're not sure what he's establishing about the character or what he developed. So Max has just asked, how could this or would this be portrayed as an exam question? The exam question, Jekyll. And so what we're doing is we're saying, right, you should write 3 paragraphs and 1 about the conclusion. So these are character questions. If you get a question about a character, this is how you structure it. If you had if the extract there, that helps you fill out one of these, because you go, right, this extract is from, the paragraph sorted, because you can pick out a quotation from that. What's he establishing in that? Why is he doing that? If it's actually to argue, Sean, rather than being stoic, because stoic means you're showing no emotion. Hyde, he could be, look at the other 2 quotations for him. So maybe Hyde in the establishing ideas is family, but by the development, he's no longer stoic, and definitely by the conclusion, he's no longer stoic. What is he instead? Development. What's he saying instead? Thank you for those questions. Keep any more coming in. I'll give you another 5 minutes of just doing this. Complete what I would suggest you put for Hyde, just at these points at the end here, just to finish off that session. Do let me know if you have any other questions on this. If you've done it for Hyde, if you want to try, So Ryan, I'm going to upload it for the moment. If you just want to make a kind of a rough copy of this to show my homework so you've got it as well. If you don't want to do a table at the moment, at least just make notes on the things that we're doing. I'll just go for one more minute on working through them, and then I'll just give you my thoughts on it, and we'll wrap up there. Any other questions in the chat? Please do let me know. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these final points here. So Hyde, you would write, again, 3 paragraphs. One about him in the establishment, one about him in the development, one about him in the conclusion. So in the establishment, the story of Hyde's attack on a little girl. Quotation, as we heard, girl. Lots to be able to say from that. Please make sure for this quotation, this is a crucial quotation, make sure you analyze the violent word. So therefore showing that he is attacking them with force. Calmly is an adverb that shows that he perhaps force does not care about what he's done. So we could say that at this point, Stevenson established a lack of morals, unlike normal Victorian gentlemen. So that's, he establishes Hyde's violence and lack of morals and the fact that he's unlike Victorian gentlemen. How do we know? And there's your quotation that you would analyze. How does he develop? Well, in the middle of the story, the murder, Sir Danvers Carew. And that one, the crucial quotation, this is a great quotation to make, like fury. Apologies, like fury. This is a crucial thing to analyze. Do not forget that the Darwin's theory of evolution, the idea that we evolved from monkeys, was something that was new during this time. And what we see, normally humans would evolve, we see Hyde devolve over the course of the novella. So Stevenson develops as the novella goes on. He loses his morals, knowing right from wrong. And so if you have a question about Hyde, you absolutely must talk about how he goes on. Less evolved, another word that you could use for that is atavistic. Develops Hyde to be novella goes on. That's your opening sentence for your second paragraph. That's where it happens. And then you do some love. And then finally, your third paragraph. You've got your first paragraph, your second, your third paragraph thing that we've got in this one. So the crucial quotation you want to talk about in this final one, when it comes to Hyde, Hyde has been in Jekyll's letter. We talk about how Hyde fully takes control. Hyde begins to take Jekyll. That's basically it. Hyde begins to take control over Jekyll. So Jekyll can no longer control. But Jekyll has been trying to repress his emotions, and Hyde manages to come out. And the crucial quotation for the end, my devil had long been caged, came out roaring. And the idea devil is really important, that he's no longer just someone evil. He is literally Satan personified. And the fact he is roaring shows the increasingly violent nature that we got. With the ending, Stevenson is exposing the problems of to your evil side becoming stronger. So that is your final thing, that he's stoic to begin with. He becomes increasingly violent, increasingly angry. And then at the end, he's almost like the devil. It's so strong there. And so that is your first sentence. That's your second sentence. And then you would analyze each of those in turn. So just to sum up everything, thank you for being very patient and for listening. Hope you've taken lots of, you've got this table. I would suggest you do exactly the same for Utterson and for Lanyon. You are writing three, one about the establishment, one about what is like in the development, one about like what is like in the conclusion. You make sure you're analyzing your keywords, make sure you link it to the Victorian period, and that's what's going to help you out with that. End of what we've done here. I'll make sure we upload it. If you want to, after we've uploaded it, if you want to send it to me on Show My Homework, or if you want to bring it to me in school or ask me any further questions, you can. But thank you very much for attending. Max, if you want to ask me a question now, absolutely fine. Put it in the chat, that's fine. If you feel free to leave now, that's absolutely fine. No questions, it's a stupid question. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, Max, so good point. So what I've done for the other characters, so for Utterson and so rather than you having to look for the quotations, I've got them here. What I suggest you do is there is an online version of Jekyll, Control F, and you search for these quotations if you're not sure who they belong to, and read that paragraph. It should be clear who it's about. And then there's lots of links to, on BBC Bytes, there's links to the whole plot. So if it's still not making sense, you could do that. But quotations for the key characters at this point as the starting point upon which to build your argument as well. Okay? Does that make sense, Max? Questions, you can come find me in school or anything. I'll upload this to Show My Homework now, and you can take it from there, okay? Thank you very much, Max. Well done. No worries. Look in your revision booklet because there's lots of links to the links to just the story as well. Okay. This is giving you the structure, the basic structure for it.